This week on the Pro Wrestling Podcast, CM Punk and his MMA Commentary Team have a good old hearty laugh at the whole Brawl Out situation. The Elite continue to taunt CM Punk, all while telling us fans to let it go. MJF and Conor McGregor have a little exchange on Twitter. And Samy Zayn, a.k.a. Samy Uso, talks about the storyline with the Bloodline. I'm your host, Seth Grimes, and this is the Pro Wrestling Podcast. What the fuck is up, everybody? Welcome. Come on in to the Pro Wrestling Podcast. I am your boy, Seth Grimes. Come on in. Kick your feet up. Relax a little. We're going to have a fun show this week. If I sound a little extra nasally this week, it's because I just sneezed right before I hit record, and my bitch-ass nose will be fucked up for the next several hours now. Anytime I sneeze, it just throws my sinuses all out of whack, and they're clogged and runny like I got a fucking cold, and it's a big old mess, and I hate it. But the show must go on. Luckily, I got my Zoa here with me. Cheap plug for Zoa. I was a Bang guy. I still am a Bang guy for the most part. Like, Bang's got the best flavors, in my opinion, of energy drinks. It's got the wide variety, you know. It's got some unique flavors in there. I love a good Bang. But I gotta tell you that the Zoas are creeping up on me. Like, they're really good. They taste different because they're more natural or something. I don't know. Maybe The Rock sweats into it when he's working out. I don't know exactly. But whatever it is, it's fucking amazing. So, cheap plug for that. Also, another cheap plug here. I had the opportunity to listen to the audiobook for There's Just One Problem, written by Brian Gewirtz, about his time as the head writer backstage in WWE. Fantastic book. I'm going to do a whole separate review of that, so I'm not going to get into a lot of it here. But if you're into books, or if you're just into those kind of tell-all wrestling books that give you all the inside information about what it was like backstage during a certain era, this is a fantastic read. Listen to. Great insight into Vince McMahon, into The Rock, Triple H, Stephanie, Shane. Lots of fun stories in here that I highly recommend. That if you're into this kind of stuff, fucking read it. If you're sleeping on it, don't. With all that out of the way, though, let's just go ahead and hop on into our top story, because we got a lot to cover here today. CM Punk has a good old hearty har over the whole Brawl Out situation and being suspended from AEW while doing his commentary with CFFC MMA Cage Fury. He was sitting at the commentary table, Cage Fury, CFFC, some sort of like minor league to UFC, essentially, you know, like a lower level minor league MMA promotion, and CM Punk is on the commentary team there. He recently made his return, his first public appearance since the Brawl Out, and then it was in this particular clip right here where CM Punk kind of shows where he's at with the whole thing. You know, is this something that he's taking very seriously, or is this something that's a big fucking joke to him? You be the judge. Check out this clip.
This guy here wasn't injured. Him versus Paul Felder might have happened, but apparently he's nursing a shoulder injury. You know, maybe Mario Lopez or somebody like that in the future.
Everything is hurt. I'm nursing everything.
Speaking of CM Punk, next year we may do Fury Pro Wrestling. We're trying to get a big signing to happen. We need to add it to our repertoire.
I'm bad news. You don't want me in the locker room.
Yeah, that dude will mess up the whole organization. What are you doing?
I
like working here, man.
He won't draw numbers.
Don't let him do any press conferences. All right, listen, we still got a main event to come.
So for anybody that had any kind of delusions that CM Punk could come back and like apologize to each individual person in the locker room for being an asshole and promised to do better and be on his best behavior and minding his P's and Q's for an AEW return. I hope this kind of settles that whole thing that you're out of your fucking mind if you think CM Punk's going to come back and tuck his tail between his legs. The dude doesn't even care. He's laughing about it. This is laughable to CM Punk. Now, this indicates one of two things, right? One is it's a work, and he's having a good laugh about it because he knows he's going to return and do big business working with the Elite, the Bucks, Kenny, right? Fucking Punk and FTR versus the Elite and the six-mans, Punk versus Kenny Omega one-on-one. Like, dude, there is some great business to be had from a CM Punk returning and having the business sense to turn this whole spiel, this whole Brawl Out fucking fiasco into some money. Start printing money. Punk can come back as a massive heel and, you know, behind the scenes, apologize to the locker room, make them all comfortable with him being there again, and then just not fuck up ever again. And on screen, play it up. You know, behind the scenes, kiss ass. On screen, play it up. Yeah, fuck you guys. Blah, 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 blah. Create an angle out of it. So it's all a work, and Punk is coming back. That's scenario number one. Number two is this is just a big joke to him. Ha, ha, ha. This whole thing's stupid. Remember, this was the guy that had said that he didn't think that when he got suspended, that he didn't think that the press conference part of this was a big deal. You know, people close to CM Punk through Nick Hausman or whatever had said they didn't think it was a big deal. The media scrum thing, like they get, you know, the fight, backstage fight, those fights happen all the time in wrestling. So why exactly is this such a big deal? He doesn't even understand that. He doesn't see it. The fight's not the big deal. I don't know that I would have even been mad about the fight, to be honest with you. Wrestling, you know, they're egos. It's testosterone. It's big guys with big egos, and they're in competition for top spots. You know what I mean? For top paydays. And that's, tempers are going to fly, and people are going to disagree, and people are going to get into it. So be it. That's part of the game. But to just go onto this media scrum and bury your whole locker room, none of these people did anything. They're all children. I'm trying to run the business here. And that whole thing about Punk possibly being an EVP secretly, that's not correct at all. The way I took it is that, you know, Punk is kind of he just had Tony's ear, similar to what Chris Jericho has. Chris Jericho doesn't have any kind of title, but he does take a locker room leader role, and he certainly is there to advise Tony Khan, and I think Punk was doing pretty much the same thing with no official title. Otherwise, we would have heard that. So that's kind of a stupid rumor too. Just for Punk to bury everybody at that thing and then think that, oh, I don't see what the big deal is. It's just, you know, just burying the entire company. I mean, doesn't everybody agree with me? Doesn't everybody think they're a bunch of no-name fuck-alls that they're a bunch of children trying to run a fucking shitty half-ass promotion? You know, that kind of mentality, he's never going to come back and apologize. He's never going to think that he's in the wrong. This is a guy that does not, his ego is too big to see any wrong that he does. Everything that he does is great. I know people like this personally. I do. You can't win an argument with him because you can't even be like, look, man, I see from your point of view. I really do. I understand where you're coming from. This is just where I'm coming from. And they're like, yeah, well, where you're coming from sucks. And I'm right. You know what I mean? Like, that's CM Punk. There's no scenario where he's going to come back and get on the locker room's good graces and mind his P's and Q's. He's going to come back and be like, you know, I did what I did and I'd do it again. Fuck you guys. I'm the big shit around here and you guys are lucky to have me here. That's CM Punk. And it's sad that it's going to turn out that way, but I think that's what it is. Though we're going to get into later in another clip, if you're watching clips on YouTube, but if you're listening or watching the full pod, we're going to get into the Elite side of this whole thing here in a minute. But this is a pure sign that this is all a joke to him. He's laughing it off that he was suspended. He's laughing about the fight. I punched a guy. Big deal. You know what I mean? Oh, you don't want me in your locker room. You know, he hears all these rumors and he's just like, it's a big fucking joke. Fuck all these kids, these punk ass kids. They're lucky to have me. No one cares what they think. It's a bad. And I know there's a lot of people like a Jim Cornette. He's going to listen to this and the Jim Cornette and I know I have a lot of people that listen, you know, just from reviewing the analytics. I know a lot of people that watch this also watch Jim Cornette, but I know Jim Cornette's very solidly in the camp of CM Punk and that they are all children and that they are lucky to have him here and he is the biggest star and all of that might be correct, but it's not Punk's place to call it out publicly in front of the world to make the company look like shit, to continue to reinforce that impression with the public. You know, Punk's job is to build the company up, not sit here and say, you know, I'm a giant star and all these people are fucking idiots and children. They're lucky to have me. And I'm just here collecting a giant fat paycheck and trying to do the best I can while I'm here. You know, instead of putting AEW, the company, over. You know, all of these guys are top stars. You know, you beat Hangman for the world title. So like, does that, you know, when you sit there and you say like, oh, who's Hangman? What did he ever do in this business? Wow, you really fucking won a big one there then, didn't you, Punk? You know what I mean? Like, you don't say that kind of shit publicly, whether you're right or wrong. And half of me does believe he's right in a lot of those situations. I do. The Bucks are children. The Bucks are petty. And I'll get into it when I cover the Elite part, but there's certainly some shit going on there where they try to babyface themselves and, oh, we're just good Christian boys and we're just, you know, minding our own business, and big mean CM Punk comes in. No, that's not the case either. This road goes two ways. I just think, to wrap this up here, that CM Punk, the way that he's laughing about this, clearly shows he doesn't take it seriously, that he doesn't see any fault in himself or any wrong that he would have done. He's not going to want to meet in the middle. He's not going to want to come back and be on good terms. And he's not going to want to come back and make money off of this, which the money is there to be taken. Again, FTR versus the Elite in the six-mans and the trios. Punk versus fucking Omega one-on-one is a main event anywhere in the world. Like a fucking $1 million gate main event. Like a top draw. And I don't think we're ever going to see it, unfortunately. And I don't know that we're ever going to see Punk in AEW again, because it's all a big fucking joke. The Elite have made their triumphant return to AEW, but not without controversy. Of course, we couldn't have that. The Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, making their return to AEW at the Full Gear pay-per-view, which I did a full review of. That's something I'm going to try to do more of now, time permitting. I'm also going to do one for Survivor Series as well. So keep an eye out for that and go watch the Full Gear review. But the Elite returning at Full Gear, full spectacle with the new entrance music and stuff like that, which a lot of people thought were a shot at CM Punk to begin with the Carry On, My Wayward Son, There Will Be Peace When You Are Gone. You know, certainly could be taken that way. Now the Young Bucks have come out and said that that's not the case, that this is the music they used when they were yarders, and that this is stuff that they used to jam out to with their dad. And any look at their dad, you can see that obviously he was a Kansas fan, right? Clearly the type that would be a Kansas fan. But, you know, hey, that's what they say. So I'm going to take them at their word, and they're going to continue to use it. But certainly the lyrics could have a double meaning, could they not? But CM Punk in the Bucks and Omega, the whole Brawl Out aside, Kenny Omega did an interview with Sports Illustrated and tried to lay it all to rest, tried to get the fans to just let it go. And check out this here sample from the article in which Kenny Omega says, there are things no one can talk about, so I'd encourage people to let it go, says Omega. It doesn't change that we want a team effort in AEW. I don't even mean implicitly myself and my opponent. It also means the referee, the fans, the people who set up the ring, everyone. Even a technical error can ruin the memory of a match. Exploding barbed wire death match, right? Oh, he says that. I can refer back to the exploding barbed wire death match. So I encourage people to move away from it because there is no information to be released. Though I cannot talk about it, I do want the fans to know I still want the best for pro wrestling. Aw, well, that's very nice. That's so sweet of Kenny Omega to say in writing. But a lot of people will tell you it's not what you say, it's what you do. And we could start with the return of the Elite at Full Gear. You know, we already talked about the entrance music. Could it be? Could it not be? You know, there's some plausible deniability there. I read the Young Bucks book. I don't remember if they made mention of what their entrance music was when they were talking about their Yard career. But plausible deniability, we'll let that one slide. But what about this clip here where clearly the fans that were there in support of the Elite were rowdy and outspoken, and they were going to give their thoughts on CM Punk, which is fine. Crowds are lively like that. You know, when they were in Chicago, the crowd had an alternative pro CM Punk chant. So that kind of shit's going to happen. But then you watch Being the Elite that comes out, 2 days later, and it looked a little bit like they might have been encouraging it. Check out this clip. So does Brandon Cutler count as, the Elite encouraging this? Him pointing his camera at the crowd while they're chanting it. Certainly it gives them encouragement to keep it going, does it not? They're getting the attention on them. They're getting a camera pointed at them. They're going to get louder. They're going to get more boastful. I would certainly say that was encouraged. Okay, but still plausible deniability. It was Brandon Cutler. It was for the YouTube. He didn't have to edit it into the YouTube show and make a big spectacle of it. So there's that as well. Then we move forward to Dynamite, where Kenny Omega fucking does the he bites a guy's arm, and then he does the go to sleep. And this was a guy that comes out in a Sports Illustrated magazine and encourages fans to let it go. We want to be a team environment at AEW. Also, fuck CM Punk, and we're going to make fun of this whole thing every chance we get, at least for this match. A go to sleep and biting a guy's arm, and not just biting an arm, but like cartoonishly biting his arm. You know what I mean? Like clearly making a show. And this is the whole thing that the Bucks get shit on for to begin with, is they are cartoonish and they're phony. It's a Jim Cornette term. They're phony. Now, I love a good spectacle in wrestling. It's not my favorite type of wrestling, but I don't hate the flip flop and fly stuff, the choreographed trapeze act, if you will, as long as there's other stuff to balance it out on the card that's different. But that's what you're going to get with a Young Bucks match. And, they not only do they do it so choreographed, but they do it in like the way that they carry themselves. They're so cartoonish. They're so pretend, they're like, yeah, clearly what we're doing right now is ridiculous and a joke, and we're going to act as such. And that's their shtick. And that's where they get a lot of the hate from the Jim Cornette fans and such. I don't mind it as much. It doesn't bother me, but clearly that's what they're doing. And to be that flagrant about CM Punk and the Ace Steel biting of Kenny's arm, and just when you do all of that shit, like, and then you tell fans in the same, out of the other side of your mouth to say, oh yeah, you should just let it go. We're trying to be a team here. We just want to get along. Like, fuck off. Quit trying to babyface yourself out of both sides of your asshole. You know what I mean? You're trying to babyface yourself by, we just want to let it go. I'd encourage fans to let it go too. We want to be a team player. And then over in the crowd, when they're chanting fuck CM Punk, or they're chanting for CM Punk in Chicago, you antagonize them. You stir the pot purposely. Now, maybe that was something that the Bucks and Kenny felt like they had to do in Chicago, because you couldn't ignore it. You have to address the elephant in the room to a certain extent, right? Something has to be done. Does it though? Maybe. Like I have a feeling that they could have worked a way around that, right? And what they're doing is they're just poking the bear. They're making fun. They're getting the last laugh because, it's not likely that Punk is coming back. Or going back to my CM Punk clip from earlier in the show, if you're watching the show, or just go find that fucking clip. I'll link it at the end of the thing in YouTube if you're watching just this clip. But could it be a work, Could all this be to be setting up a CM Punk return when he's able to return from his injury? Because that's the other thing. They can pretend, oh, he's suspended. He's persona non grata. He's going to be gone for like almost a year from injury. So it's plenty of time to play up, oh, he's gone. He's done ski. He's out of here. You know what I mean? But they could bring him back as a heel. Play it up. Have him team with FTR against the Elite. Have that one-on-one match with Punk versus Kenny Omega. This is dream match shit. Likely not going to happen, though. And obviously, Punk laughing about it on his little MMA commentary booth there, that he's, having a good laugh at the expense of the whole thing. And now you have the Elite trying to troll Punk and take jabs at him. According to Dave Meltzer, people within CM Punk's camp were not happy about this. I hate these fucking news stories, by the way. This is when you see these stories, sources close to say, somebody in the locker room, people within the locker room say that these are dumb. This is just one fucking asshole with an opinion, just like everybody else, just like I'm an asshole with an opinion, just like you're an asshole with an opinion. We're all assholes with opinions, right? I just happen to have a microphone and a camera, so you get to watch mine. But mine's no different than yours. But that's the same thing when Meltzer talking to somebody who might be friends with Punk or something, who's just like, oh yeah, that was bullshit. Punk wouldn't like that. And then all of a sudden, this is a big news story. Sources close to Punk say, no, who knows? It could be, but it just seems like such a non-news story that's made into a news story. And you see a lot of this stuff floating around the wrestling industry. It's fucking goofy. Like there's one that I've seen floating around. WWE reportedly has no interest in Enzo and Cass, and this keeps popping up everywhere like it's a big news story. And Cass is fucking signed to AEW. What the fuck are you even talking about? Stupid bullshit news stories like this. So I didn't read much into what Meltzer had to say, even though it is coming from Meltzer. Meltzer also very friendly with the Elite and not so much with Punk's side. So, I don't know about that one. But either way, the Bucks got to take their shots and they got to be Punk asses. And I can't imagine that they'd even want to work with Punk. They don't want to work with FTR right now as it is. So you think they're going to want to do a fucking program with CM Punk? And they don't even have beef with FTR as far as I know. They just don't. If you listen to Cornette, it's because, or even, FTR themselves in interview, it's because the Bucks don't want to be shown up by good tag team wrestlers, actual tag. They're two different types. FTR is serious as a heart attack. They go out there and it's real shit. The Bucks go out there and it's a fucking stunt show and a big goof. It's a goof. But they had great matches. The two matches that they had were fantastic. So, but if you believe those rumors, and I do, because it was so convoluted, the way that the Young Bucks, instead of just doing the rubber match at All Out with FTR, which is exactly where it was all set up for that. FTR had every tag team title that exists in the world except for the AEW titles. And then they don't fucking all of a sudden, the Bucks are the champs, and they're like, no, you know what? Let's drop the belts to Swerve in Our Glory, and then we're going to go chase the trios titles at All Out instead. You couldn't have did that after. You couldn't have debuted the trios titles the night after All Out. Come on, man. So clearly, they probably, they don't like to work with FTR. They're not going to want to work with Punk. So this whole thing, they're just getting the last laugh in. They're just being fucking douchebags. And look, I don't have a problem with, when I say that they're being fucking douchebags, that sounds like I, very critical of them or don't like them or whatever. I don't mind the Elite. They're not my favorites, but I don't hate them or anything like that. They're just kind of there for me and whatever. They don't bother me like they bother a lot of people, but clearly you can see what they're doing. This is obvious, is it not? And for them to go in on Sports Illustrated and say, I think the fans should just let it go. We're trying to run a team. And then, on the next time you're on TV, you're encouraging fuck CM Punk chants, biting people and fucking doing the go to sleep. You're being a douchebag, and it's not likely to be leading to anything, because Punk's not going to tuck his tail and apologize for anything. And, the Bucks and Kenny probably aren't going to ever want to do any actual in-ring business with them, which could make the company huge pay-per-view buy rates just because they're petty. There was a fun Twitter exchange this week between MJF and Conor McGregor, two of the sports world's biggest mouths, the biggest shit talkers, the cockiest, most braggadocious, brash, arrogant, shit talking motherfuckers in the entire business. Conor McGregor and MJF got into it this week on Twitter. It started with MJF taking a shot at Paddy Pimblett, saying that is an Irish MMA fighter, basically saying that on TMZ Sports, he called him a dollar store Conor McGregor, which is accurate, to say the least. But Conor McGregor responded, and this is what he had to say. He said, "A dollar store Conor is still worth millions. Let's go, young Paddy Pim. Don't know who this other clown is." This other clown he is referring to is MJF, who was quick to not let that slide. And MJF responds, "I'll fuck the Conor clone up. Then I'll wipe my ass with the original. Stay in your lane, you roided up leprechaun." Stay in your lane, you roided up leprechaun. You can't hang with the AEW world champ. Better than you. Hashtag better than you. As far as I've been able to find, Conor has not responded to that. Probably doesn't want to give MJF the attention. But MJF going for it there. That's a good way to get some spotlight on himself. Taking shots at Conor McGregor. Look, if anybody can hang in a shit-talking back and forth with MJF, it's Conor McGregor. I don't know if you follow MMA much or how familiar you are with the actual Conor McGregor promo, but you see him at these press conferences and shit, and he says the wildest shit. You know what I mean? Like, he's brutal with his tongue, just like MJF is. It's a verbal joust that I would love to see. I would love to see these two fucking get together and just go back and forth. I wish Conor would have responded. I wish we would have seen a little bit more from that. But hopefully MJF can continue to poke the bear a little bit and stir something up with a guy like Conor. And look, Conor, it would be a great fit for pro wrestling because he's kind of past his prime in MMA now at this point, which isn't a knock. It happens very quickly in MMA. You know, you're on your way up, you reach your peak, you're on top for a couple pay-per-views, and then suddenly like somebody knocks you off and you're never the same after that. You know, you're just on your way back down. And Conor, spent a lot of time at the top, and he's still a tough bastard, and he can still hang with pretty much anybody, I would imagine, but he's not the Conor of old. But when he's still got that kind of gas in the tank, and you have the gift of gab, and you have that kind of recognizable face, it might not hurt to follow the path to from MMA to WWE or to AEW. Conor, he'd probably do better in WWE, obviously, follow Logan Paul there, kind of do that whole same thing. He'd be great for it. The way that he talks shit, he's one of the best all-time promos. He's up there with a Roddy Piper. He's up there with The Rock. He's up there with, seriously, this isn't hyperbole here. If you're familiar with Conor, if you're not, go search his shit up on YouTube, because this dude can hang with the best of them. I really would love to see a verbal joust between Conor and MJF. And this is good. This is smart for MJF to keep doing this kind of stuff. This is a great way because he's in. Did you notice the branding? You can't hang with the AEW world champion. Like, This is why MJF is also, as I said last week, is a good company man as well. He is the leader of AEW, and him doing this kind of shit is great. It's great for publicity. It's great to keep that name recognition out there in the mainstream. Go out and pick fights with these mainstream names, not just fighters, but like anybody. Take a shot at Will Smith if you get the chance to. You know what I mean? Like, go out there and be MJF to get your name known to the public, bro. Get out in the, because one of these days, this already was picked up by a bunch of people, including myself, right? But just imagine if they would have went back and forth a little bit more. It's going to stir up attention every time he does it. He gets one of these celebrities if he goes and picks a fight with a celebrity and gets them to bite and they have a little bit of a back and forth, that's great. More people are going to have eyes on it. They're going to hear about AEW. They're going to hear about MJF. It's the same shit that MJF did. There was a lady, God, I forgot. I covered it. It was months ago now, though. There was a lady who does a talk show, apparently, and she was like a daytime talk show, completely separate from wrestling. And she said she ran into MJF at the airport, and her son is a big fan of MJF, and she tried to approach MJF and to, get a picture or an autograph or something. And MJF basically told her to fuck off. And she was so offended by this, and there was no cameras around. There was nothing. And she was so offended that she had to go on her show and talk about it and talk about how horrible of a person this MJF is. And she's like, I'm friends with Mark Henry. I'll get Mark Henry on your ass. You know what I mean? I'm going to tell him what you did. Henry's just going to laugh because that's MJF. You know what I mean? And even she even said her kid, who is the MJF fan, was like, no, Mom, that's don't be mad. That's what MJF does. That's how he is. That's MJF, He wouldn't have it any other way. And that's the brilliance of MJF. So him out there stirring the pot with all these celebrities, with his sharp wit and his devil tongue. There are few, if anybody, that can actually hang with MJF. Even a Conor McGregor, I think, might have, had to tap out to MJF's verbal jousting, if you will. But I like it. It's good shit. I want to see more of it. It's good for the business. It's good for MJF's brand. And we'll catch you in the next video. Samy Zayn, the honorary Uce himself, was on the After the Bell podcast with Corey Graves this week, talking all about the continued Bloodline storyline and Samy Zayn's involvement with the Bloodline going into the big War Games match this weekend as well. Samy's the shit. I love me some Samy Zayn. He is in the absolute best year of his career. They addressed that a little bit actually on the show here. Talked about how Sammy's got this incredible match at WrestleMania with Johnny Knoxville. That was just a complete career highlight for Samy. And now this huge Bloodline storyline and him joining up with the Bloodline and now with the Kevin Owens part of it. And it's just such great shit. This is absolutely the best storyline of Samy Zayn's career. And he seems to think so too. This was him talking about it on After the Bell. Check out this clip.
The whole honorary Uce thing, as it was initially presented, was let's try to force this square peg in the round hole. Samy Zayn does not fit in the Bloodline, but over the past several months, you have proven that to not be the truth and have grown into one of the hottest. You have found your role within the hottest act in the business. How did that come to be from your perspective? Was this something that you saw the potential in, or is this something you were just trying to get along?
I definitely saw the potential from the get-go. It's one of those things that you kind of nailed it there, where it's not something that you predict ahead of time, or it's not something that you think you want to see, or something that even you think would make sense. But in execution, and that's what I think this whole thing has come down to, is the execution of it all, more than it is the concept. Because you're right, the concept is a bit strange. Well, the Bloodline is a family. And here's this person who's clearly not family. And the whole thing just doesn't make sense on paper. But it's a perfect example of when things work in execution more than they do on paper. And, there's so many things that I think you could say the same about. And the easiest one that we often fall back to is, just as an example, the people's elbow. Like if you wrote down, Rock comes up with a new move called the people's elbow where he stands over the guy and does this. I mean, it doesn't read like something that's going to become iconic, but it's the execution and the performer and the time and the place and all these variables that make it magic and make it special. So I'm not entirely surprised at the success of the segments or whatever that we've done, but it has still exceeded my expectations. Like, I knew they would be good. I just didn't know the fans would take to it the way they have.
This has to be one of the best storylines, if not the best storyline in the last fucking decade. Honestly, this is such a good storyline. This whole Bloodline angle, this unstoppable faction, this unstoppable reign by Roman Reigns, and then just, you get that little bit of comic relief with the honorary Uso joining in, and he's so completely opposite from everybody else in the Bloodline. And you get Jey Uso's just like, he's like, I see you, bro, like there's something shady about you. I don't like it. I don't trust you. I don't want you here. And I don't like the smell of your breath. You know what I mean? Like, then they had that thing, remember a couple of weeks ago, where they all cracked up on he's not feeling very Uso. Like, Samy Zayn is absolutely in the best run of his entire career right now. Like, of everything he's ever done, and he's had a hell of a career. Like, let me fucking school you a little bit here. For those that don't know, when he was, it hasn't been confirmed, but rumors are that he may have been the person under the El Generico mask. And assuming that the rumors are correct, and this is something that he was El Generico, which has not been proven, that he had, El Generico is an indie legend. He wasn't just a guy on the indies or like, had a couple big matches or whatever. Like, El Generico is an indie icon. Like, he was one of the biggest names on the indies at that time. And in Ring of Honor, he defined that era. Him and Kevin Steen together, Kevin Owens, defined that era of independent wrestling, of Ring of Honor. They were just, so he left a legacy on the indies. He didn't just participate, moving up to the main roster. He had that hell of a match with he had a great run in NXT in general. He's Samy, if you watch him when he's playing as the babyface, the way that he sells and the way that he's almost on another level from anybody. There's very few people in the business that sell better than Samy Zayn when he's playing the babyface coming from behind, right? And then as a heel, he's just so smarmy and obnoxious and weaselly, and everybody loves a good big mouth weaselly heel, because you can have, everybody wants to be I'm the big tough guy Roman Reigns style heel, right? Or you can back it up, but to be able to play the weasel, the smart ass, the guy that's going to try to run or escape or can't really fight if it was fair, or if you really finally get your hands on him, he's fucked. But he's just, keeps running his mouth and then running away or something. That kind of character. Like, Sammy's amazing right now. He's doing the best work of his entire career in his 20th year, he said, of being a professional wrestler. And he's just out there fucking slaying it. I don't know where this is heading. They kind of teased with Kevin Owens, and you could see Jay kind of peeking through the door and eavesdropping on the conversation. I don't know I hope they're not leading to I hope this isn't coming to an end at Survivor Series, I guess, is what I'm saying. At some point, it has to come to an end. But it's just, why, let's enjoy the ride for a little bit longer first. I don't think it's ready to come to an end yet. But I think we might be about to see a new turn in this storyline. I wish the best for Samy Zayn. I hope to God that he continues to just just dominate. You know, I hope when he does get turned on that he can go on that huge babyface run then at that point. And he's not going to be the guy to dethrone Roman. I highly doubt that. But Samy is a generational talent. He really is. He's a once-in-a-lifetime talent, and he's had the best year of his career, and I fucking love it. I love everything about it, and I'm excited to see the War Games. But what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. My girl Jade Cargill was on the Breakfast Club radio show talking all about the Jade brand, promoting Jade Cargill and AEW, talking about her AEW career, how she got started into the business. She name dropped Mark Henry as the guy who got her first break in pro wrestling. This is the same Mark Henry that got Bianca Belair her first break in professional wrestling. So Mark Henry is the talent scout of the fucking century, is he not? Holy shit. Those are two mega stars that he plucked and said, you know what, you guys would be great in professional wrestling. And they were athletes outside of wrestling. They weren't on the indies. You know, they were doing other athletic ventures outside of wrestling. And it was Mark Henry that saw something in him. So props to Mark Henry. Holy shit. Now Bianca's doing fantastic in WWE. Jade's a little bit greener. She's got a long way to go, and I see so much hate online for Jade Cargill, mostly because of that, you know, 'cause she's green and sucks or whatever. But I think you can't deny the star power of a Jade Cargill, right? Like, she's not, when you look at her, you just, she literally has money falling out of her pockets and shit. You know what I mean? Like, everywhere she walks, she leaves like a wafty trail of fucking gold and diamonds. She's a fucking star. She's a star. She's a mega star. She's a born star. Look at her. Like, if you can't make money with Jade Cargill, you're insane. And that's why WWE also had an interest in her. When Mark found her and put her on and gave her opportunity, he basically served her up to both AEW and WWE. Here you go. You know, why don't you both of you take a look at Jade Cargill here? And both of them wanted her. And she had some decisions to make. And this is why she chose AEW over WWE. Check out this clip.
So AEW really didn't know what they had at first then?
No, not at all. And I was actually going between this company and the other company at the same time. So I was going back and forth. But, you know, we have an owner, Tony Khan, who's hungry. He owns the Jaguars. He owns a soccer team, Fulham, in England. And
he used to own that hotel right next door.
Yeah, he owns everything. The man is a billionaire.
Roxy.
I love the fact that he treats us like athletes. And he understands, like, we need mental health days. Like, we need time off. We have families at home. I have a 5-year-old daughter, so I want to be there as much as I can for her. And that's the reason why I chose this company over the other company. And they seen something in me, and they don't treat me like a number. Like, he was willing to listen to my dream and what I wanted and said, okay, I believe in you, and we're going to make this happen.
There's no doubt that she would be a bigger star in WWE, especially Hunter. I cannot imagine that Vince even, I think, would have pushed her to the moon, you know, just because of her look. You know, Vince is not dumb. He's going to see that and go, God damn. You know what I mean? But Hunter's no dummy either, you know, like, he was obviously as close to China as anybody, right? And saw that whole run happen. So he's going to see dollar signs in a Jade Cargill too. So there's no way that she's just going to not be used properly in WWE or be relegated to NXT forever, or just, you know what I mean? Like, they are going to push her to the moon in WWE as well. But there's other things to consider. It's the money. It's the time with your family. Jade also she's got a daughter. She's got to spend time with her daughter. She's got to raise her daughter, right? She's got to be able to continue doing her other stuff. She says she is a brand. I can't say I'm familiar with, like, her clothing line or anything like that, but she's into fashion apparently, and she's got other shit going. So she's not just a professional wrestler, you know, she's a model, obviously. So there's a lot of things to consider when you're choosing between an AEW or a WWE, but both companies would be insane to pass up a Jade Cargill. You know, for a fact, like, she's a top draft pick for me. Like Like, she is a top 5. Like, if I was WWE and I had to name 5 people I'd want to scoop away from AEW, Jade's on that list. She's probably in the top 3 on that list, honestly, because it's not just about wrestling talent. That's only part of it. You know what I mean? Like, Serena Deeb's the best women's wrestler on the planet, pretty much, right? But she can't. She doesn't have star power, right? She's not going to draw you a dime. Nobody in the planet's buying a ticket to go see Serena Deeb. I'm sorry if you're the one female listener or male listener, whatever, and you're listening to my show and you're like, I like Serena Deeb. I bought a ticket to see Serena. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. I'm generalizing here to an extent, but nobody's buying a ticket to see Serena Deeb. People will buy tickets to see Jade Cargill. And she's on the Breakfast Club, dude. That's a huge, huge radio show. And I don't know how familiar you are with it, but like, if you're listening to rap music at all, like the hip hop culture, like it's all of it comes through the doors there at the Breakfast Club. They have stars on that show, and Jade Cargill fit right in, puts her fucking TBS title on the table. Like, she's boom, I'm here. I'm representing AEW, talking about the brand. This is the kind of shit that makes her valuable. Like, can she do can she put on a serviceable match? Not quite yet. But you keep working with her on that because she looks the part. She talks the part. She walks the part. She's gets the media attention. She's on shows like the fucking Breakfast Club, and she's the girl you keep putting her out there, and that's why she's a top 3, top 5 draft pick, because she does the media like a fucking champ too. She goes out there, she doesn't break character, but she can be, because she is Jade, you know what I mean, just turned up to 11. Like, she goes in there with her swagger, her attitude, her bitchiness, but also is able to just represent the brand professionally. There's just so much money to print with Jade Cargill. It's unreal. And I like anybody, when I first saw her, I think it was her debut was with Shaq, right? Like everybody else, I was like, okay, she's not great. We'll wait and see. She looks good. You notice that right away. But it didn't take very long at all for me to go, okay, I'm all in the Jade Cargill fucking camp. And I know she's got her haters, and I know people are going to cringe when they watch this or whatever. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Let me know how much you hate her. It's fine. Everybody's got their own tastes and opinions. This girl is just, she's the guy. She's the girl that you want to push to the top of your wrestling card. Your women's roster. She's got to be at the top of the card. You know what I mean? She's the megastar, and that's why she's out of the mix with the world title too. Because you also want. She kind of alluded to it, and I think this might have been a conversation Tony had with her. She said in the in the interview that the only reason I haven't gone for that title is because I don't want to yet. I don't want to give those guys their little time in the sunshine because they're in their time in the spotlight because they've been around a while or whatever. And that's one way to say it, but I would say with the TBS title, if you keep that separate from the AEW women's title, you have the ability to push like a Britt Baker to the moon, and Thunder Rosa, and now Jamie Hayter's got that spotlight, and none of them would be able to have any kind of run at the top of a women's card if Jade was sitting there, because that's why you got to kind of keep them separate. And she represents that belt well. She represents the company well, and she's just going to be a megastar for years to come. I do see her possibly spending some time in WWE in the future. And again, I think when they do, they're not going to drop the ball with her. She's going to continue to be a megastar wherever she goes. Well, they call him the Natural. Dustin Rhodes was on the Talk is Jericho podcast this week, having just a good old talk by two wily vets that have shared a locker room for years and years and years, kind of walking through the whole Gold Dust and Dustin Rhodes' career and stuff. Had a couple of the highlights of some of his best matches. It was fun. They just talked about the War Games match that Dustin was in with the Sting Squadron against the Dangerous Alliance. That's one of my favorites. I actually did a watch along to that, so keep an eye out for that. But in this particular clip here, Dustin talked about how he felt when Cody left AEW to go to the WWE. Check out this clip.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, how did you feel when Cody left AEW and went back to WWE?
Kind of down a little bit. It was, but you know, he's still young. There's such an age gap, 16 years. So now he's kind of in his prime now, but watching him return on WrestleMania was just huge. And you know, I'm not going to miss any of his stuff. And he's on the rise to become a champion. You know, and I really think he's set the tone for that in his last 8 years of work and things that he's done and he's built up. He's very professional. He's very different than I am. We're two completely opposite people. I mean, he has that creative mind like my dad had, you know, and I'm more the grunt, the worker in the family. Mm-hmm. But he is like surpassing everything. He's doing amazing.
That's great, man.
But yeah, I wish he was still here.
Yeah, you know? I get a text from him actually quite frequently, and he always says, "I miss you guys, man. I miss you guys," and I do miss having him around. You know, I do. I got much closer with him for obvious reasons in AEW than I ever was in WWE, but I still always had a connection with him in WWE as well.
Yeah,
you know? He just always was the type of guy I like that guy. So
I can imagine that being pretty sad, him being sad to see him go. But he knows that Cody's in his prime right now and that Cody's on his way. Everybody knows that Cody is on his way to that WWE title. I think it's written in the goddamn stars. You know what I mean? It's destined. There's nothing that is going to stop that from happening. He will likely be the person that beats Roman Reigns. I don't know. Like, I don't know that they've figured that out yet, or I don't know, you know, with The Rock. Is The Rock coming in? Is he not coming in? And if he is he facing Reigns? And if he does, is it for the title? And how do you do that? You know what I mean? Does Cody have to wait then? Who wins the Royal Rumble? How does all that going to work? So there's a lot of what ifs up in the airs right now for that kind of thing. But I think everybody pretty well can tell that Cody is destined for that WWE title specifically. And he deserves it, man. He's a megastar. Cody's a megastar. He was in AEW. It was just that he had been there so long. You know, they're like 2 years there, right at that point. And Cody was kind of, you know, he wasn't going for any world title. And like the babyface, you know, the grandiose entrance and the babyface stuff, it was starting to wear thin on the people. His promos and stuff, and people they wanted him to be a heel, and he didn't want to turn. You know, he wanted to stay babyface, and I think that was kind of where he was starting to lose his steam in AEW. And I don't know what was going on behind the scenes with anybody else, you know, like with Tony or the Bucks or whatever. If there was a fallout there, as we heard that there was. But, you know, just on screen, it was time for a change. And if he wasn't going to turn heel or change that part of himself there, then, you know, the next best thing is to jump over to the other promotion. You know what I mean? Because when you go back to the WWE, you're going to get the babyface reaction again already. So now he'll have a whole nother babyface run with WWE. There'll come a time where that character will get stale and people will get sick of him again. But it doesn't mean that people are over Cody Rhodes. It just means there's time that's how you know it's time to turn heel or change the character up or do something different. You know what I mean? The fans, when they turn on you, it's not personal. It's just them. That's their way of letting you know that we're done with this shit now. This is boring now. Let's see what else you got. Fans are pretty harsh sometimes in wrestling, and we all know that, right? But yeah, you know, I can see how that affected Dustin, but hey, I mean, this was for the best. This was a good move for Cody to do specifically. You know, it seems like AEW's kind of struggled since Cody left, struggled to find their foot. I mean, they had their best, not financially. They've had their best years or their best year since after Cody left, Punk came in and it was blew the pay-per-views and the live gates and all that shit was through the roof. So, financially, the Cody leaving didn't hurt, but I feel like they're still struggling to find their place creatively. They're struggling to, hang on to that over 1 million crowd. They're barely able to touch 1 million, and that's something I feel like that kind of left with Cody. But Cody in WWE is fantastic, and it's even better that he's the American Nightmare and he's got his music and his whole presentation and everything. It's like, it's incredible. It's incredible. It's rare in wrestling, and Triple H knows the significance of that, and he's gonna use Cody really good too, because Triple H, I've always seen, and I think Cody has too. Cody has said that Triple H is his favorite wrestler, and he looks up to Triple H. You know what I mean? You can see it in the way that he carries himself as a wrestler. He's Triple H-esque as a personality, even. Maybe not like personality, but like as a character, I guess. In a lot of ways, there's similarities there, and at least in my opinion, I see them. And I think that it'll be easy for Triple H to book Cody, because he'll kind of use him the way that he would have used himself in a lot of ways. So I think we're in for big things for Cody Rhodes. And will he ever come back to AEW? Who knows? I think, you never say never in the wrestling business, obviously. But, I can't imagine Cody has too many more years left in him. And I can't imagine, he came back in at such a top spot in WWE that I feel like it's similar to like AJ Styles. Like, what's the point of leaving at this point? Like AJ, had a chance to jump to AEW, but like, dude, WWE's treating me pretty good over here, and they're paying me a shit ton of money, and like, I can just kind of retire here. I'll be fine. So I think that might be the path for Cody as well, but who knows? We shall see. But there's lots of other good stuff in this interview with Dustin too, so I'd seek that out. If you like Dustin, even if you don't, there's just a lot of good stories in there. The Goldust stories and the Dusty stories, and just a lot of that kind of fun stuff. So go check that out. It's the tropical punch flavor. It's really, they're good, man. I don't know if you've had a Zoa. They're like fruit juice in a way, but they're like, it's just perfectly balanced. Like, it doesn't have the energy drink taste as much as it has like a fruit taste. Like it's natural fucking berries or something, but yeah. Recommend it. I'm an energy drink guy. Are you an energy drink guy? I like coffee too. Iced coffee. It's good shit. As you can tell, we're at the end of this show here. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. I wanted to put on your radar. I did. And I should have known I was going to run into this, but it's hard, like I have a full-time work schedule and everything, kids. It's hard to find time to record everything and just edit and balance everything, but I should have did these earlier knowing that they were going to get blocked, but I did 3 watch-alongs all in a row. I just sat and, watched a few matches and just recorded them, chopped them into separate videos, so I have some watch-alongs in honor of the Survivor Series this year. I did a watch-along of a Survivor Series match, the one where CM Punk teams up with DX and the Hardy Boys. And then I did 2 War Games matches as well, WCW versus the NWO with the fake Sting and the Stinger. And then I also did the previously mentioned in the Dustin Rhodes segment, the Sting Squadron versus the Dangerous Alliance. I have watch-alongs for all 3 of those. Those are up on YouTube. But they are currently blocked as I record this for copyright purposes. WWE blocks them with the copyright, but they do fall under fair use, so I disputed them. Same thing with the Royal Rumble watch-along I did about a month ago. You can do separate commentary to these things, and that falls under fair use. It's not a copyright violation or anything, but until they sort all that out with my dispute, they block it in the meantime. So I don't know that they're going to make air by the time that Survivor Series does. They probably won't, because I'm recording this on a Saturday morning, afternoon, and Survivor Series is tonight. So fat chance on that, but when you do see those pop up, still give them a watch. they're still worth your time, even though they're not. Their Survivor Series will have been passed by then. But I've just been having a lot of fun doing the bonus content. I'm going to be doing that book review for There's Just One Problem from Brian Gewirtz. Again, it's just a great book. So please look out for that one too, because I'm excited to kind of talk about this book. I'm probably going to record it after this. So if I'm in the same shirt and hat, then you know that I'm burping up my Zoa. Don't mind me. We can burp. This is the closing credits of the show here. This is where we can kind of undo our belt a little bit and burp and fart and just let loose. Right? No? Okay. But yeah, I'm excited to record that, talk about that book because it was really fun. And just all the other fun stuff. I got reaction videos up. I got reviews. Go check out some of my other content if you like my wrestling content. That's my bread and butter, and I'm going to continue to create content for you guys. But I also do other stuff. And if you want to hear about other stuff, just nerdy stuff, movies, that kind of shit. So go check that out. That's it. The Gathering book, A Bold Journey into the Belly of the Juggalo Underworld. That is my book on Audible, Amazon, and Kindle about a grumpy, fucking disgruntled ex-juggalo that has to go to the gathering of the juggalos, does a bunch of drugs, has a bunch of fun, and it's just drug-induced debauchery. So check that out if that sounds fun to you. And that's all I got. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me this week, watching along. Peace, love, and pizza. I am your boy, Seth Grimes, and this has been the Pro Wrestling Podcast.